Welcome to the Religiously Offensive Podcast.
Is that it?
Wait.
That's how you end it?
I know. I think I know what you're talking about. I can't remember how it goes either.
I've been out the game.
It's been a minute.
Had Sydney's number for years.
That's hilarious.
Wow,
She
I
give
don't
you the real one
remember it.
right away.
Do you know people though that like? I feel like there's just like this is a mass overgeneralization, but like there's like two kinds of people, and like some people will just like have the same number for all of time, and then other people will just like have to change it every like year. It's just like how many
Yeah.
crazy people do you deal with that like you have to like you have restraint like either whether it's restraining orders or like you have to change your numbers because like people won't stop harassing you.
It's
Like,
so
that's,
easy
like,
to port your number. Like, I mean,
such a
what
my mind.
blows my mind is people don't set up a freaking Google Voice because you can just abandon that number. You know what I mean? Like, give people a Google Voice number.
How does that even does it come to your
Whether
phone?
you're doing a career like sales or anything, just make a Google Voice for that. That way, if
And
you
it's
end
free?
up not doing it, yeah.
Well, maybe it's because a lot of people don't know about it, JJ.
Well, now
Cat's out the bag.
now all the 10 people
Monkey's
that
out of the
listen to this know about it. No, but I mean, it's just like I use Google Voice for literally everything. I probably have 10 of them.
Is it like
Or
can
whatever.
you talk like a phone call or is it only texting?
It's this phone. Like, I mean, literally what happens is
They just give you another
call
number?
your number. It shows up as you can either do it at, like from their number to where it just seems like a normal call to you, or you can have it come from the Google Voice. So it's like, you know, that someone's calling you on the Google Voice number. Excuse me.
That was
Wow,
weird.
I thought somebody was talking in the
Sounded like
background.
a dog.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That's what.
It was I ate a lot of stuff this weekend. I shouldn't have.
Go to Epcot.
I went to Epcot Friday.
Oh,
Yeah, so which was glorious. I mean, when I say I shouldn't have, it was all wonderful, but I shouldn't have it, like for the sake of my health.
well.
No, I went to Epcot. I tell you, like literally, first of all, the trick I've told you about this, right? Where you can go to like the resorts and just, you know, have like with a food order and get in. And so we got in with the bag of pretzels we got, and then like we went to the
I've never heard that.
yeah, so like the Riviera, like Disney Riviera Resort, for example, they have a really good like restaurant bar in there that has like this brie. Do you like brie?
Yeah.
It has this like pastry filled with brie. It's just the most insane thing you'll ever have. And then it like has like a little like jelly kind of dippings. Oh my gosh. But
Don't get them going.
to get in there,
That's why his throat's
to get in there, it's like all gated and there's security and stuff. So you order like anything from the little convenience store thing on the online, because you know how you can order stuff on the Disney app, like food. You order, you get a food order, and then you show it to the guard and you show them your ID, and they just let you in. So then you can go to the other place, and that's how we ended the night. It was great, but
I like that.
yeah. So Saturday, I had Lincoln's game. We went to an escape room, and then
Did you win?
ate at Yard House late. Huh?
Did you escape?
Oh yeah, it was super easy. It was actually kind of trash, because they charged per person. It was super expensive, and we got out of there in like 30.
Was it by
5
Yard
minutes.
House? Did you do America's Escape Room?
No, there's tons of them right there. We do Lockbusters because the theming's really good. But this particular room, it was a one room experience,
That's the worst.
and it was for 6 of us, it was $240. So I was like,
That's trash.
yeah, it was not great. So I think Christina's gonna call and complain. But yeah, so they did that, and then yesterday we had like an after church brunch. So it was all like breakfast food and pastries and
Nice.
sausages, you know, mimosas, breakfast things.
Breakfast things.
And so my body is I don't know how I'm sitting here.
It's not pleased.
Yeah, it's not. There's like I woke up early this morning to go get fill the gas cans up at the gas station.
Because it's hurricane season, baby.
It is hurricane season.
About to go down.
It is.
Do your worst, Ian.
I don't
You
know.
little
I don't know
pussy
if
boy.
you want that. I don't know if hey,
Let's see the update.
Ian, do your worst somewhere else. That's where. Just stay in the golf. Just play around there.
Yeah.
Um.
Get real
Yeah.
big over that warm swirling water.
Anyway, so everyone who's listening, please like and subscribe. You know what I'm gonna say at the end. And then we don't know anything. Again, just a reminder. You know, we don't have any answers here.
We are idiots.
We are certified. There's got to be something we can get, like a certification that you're an idiot. Like
Sure, we
order
could
it
just
online.
Write one up ourselves.
No, I want a plaque.
Certified.
I want to take a
Tar
course.
boy.
Huh?
I want to take a course.
This is a trophy we just passed around the office. All right, you're the idiot today.
This looks like
That-
it's not going to hit.
We'll just
Central
leave it
Ever
in
Florida.
seen
Corey's
that,
office.
that
Who
little
gets the
voice, the voice clip they
This is
always
permanent.
use?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that little voice clip they always use from like a Rogan interview that he did with Alex Jones, where he's just like, "I'm a little retarded."
no,
No.
but I've heard him say that.
Like, here's Neil Joe.
I'm
a little retarded.
I've definitely heard him
Yeah,
say
like,
that.
so I always hear that like clip.
No, because he's got
like,
like
put on
mental.
over
he's
other
got
things.
some mental issues, right? Like, doesn't he?
I, mean,
Like,
I don't
legit.
think so. I mean,
I
maybe
think
he's like
talked about it.
slightly like autistic or like Asperger's, something that's like
Yeah, something like that.
fully functioning though. He's just kind of.
Yeah, right. But he just doesn't know when to stop, kind of thing. Yeah, it's just like read the room. That's that.
Well, can
I
you
feel
imagine?
like if he was a
though,
little better at
imagine-
that, he wouldn't be in so much trouble.
This
Or
guy-
he wouldn't have been in so much
He's
trouble.
supposedly still loaded. I mean, who knows?
Oh, sure.
He just had to pay out a ton of money
if you
on
have
some
a good
other
attorney,
lawsuits,
you
too.
can protect your assets.
Because he got smoked during that whole like January 6th thing. They got him because they doesn't matter.
Really? I thought
Yeah,
Sandy
he
Hook
was
was
in-
his big.
Well, that was the big thing where he really lost a bunch of money, and then they came after him on some of this other stuff. But did you ever see the video that he did from like 20 plus years ago where he snuck into like that Orchard Grove like meeting where it was like out of like the conspiracy type movie where you're in this old opera house, everyone's wearing like the bird beak masks, and there's some sketchy things happening on stage. Like
No.
Those
he
bird beak masks.
he broke into this thing.
The apothecary thing.
Yeah, it was supposed to basically
So
be like he was
scary.
basically just like, yo, I got into the like whatever the Illuminati or whatever they call themselves. But it was like supposedly out, and it was like all these elites that went to just go do like who knows
Is
what.
that the like child sacrifice stuff?
Yeah, something like that. Or there's the other one where they like make them all like have sex on stage, and they kind of just like basically they all do
Wow.
it together, and then they all get like blackmailed.
I zoned out and then just re-entered the convo, and
Yeah.
How did
But there's video where he's like, it's from like 20, 30 years ago where like supposedly he got into this thing and he wasn't supposed to be there and definitely wasn't supposed to be filming. He like released the video, and then he was, he confronted one of the senators that was like there, and the guy is just like, I mean, I couldn't like, he just immediately looks so guilty. And so like, who knows what's what? I mean, I have no idea. It's total conspiracy, but like
That's so
his
tough.
life, like he supposedly like got into this secret meeting that he wasn't supposed to be at where there's a bunch of shady stuff happening. And then now he's just like, he's like taking on the world.
That's crazy. Yeah,
It's
I mean,
it's a funny clip to watch though.
because it's like the way Rogan talks about it too, and he's right. It's just like the problem with conspiracies is that some of them are true. So you're sitting there wondering, like, oh, which ones are and which ones aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So then,
Did you know also, I heard this on Rogan, they were saying that, because like I watched that like Loose Change documentary on Netflix about 9/11, and like, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, I mean, anyone that's presenting anything like that from a bias that it's going to like procure the right like evidence, like they can make a pretty compelling argument. I don't remember what they were, but I just remember watching it and being like, I don't know, but like that's weird. But
well, my thing, I just don't. It is kind of sketch that we don't have like. There's like 1 billion cameras around the Pentagon, and then we have like
Mhm.
one shitty parking lot camera of, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that blows my
like-
mind.
the whole Epstein thing is just like the cameras just weren't working in the cell.
Like you
You're
think
just like,
of all the
guys,
people that
That most
like,
high profile prisoner we got.
well, also of all the people that live and work around there, you feel like no one's noticing this plane flying in hella low. Like
Right.
no one got their camera out.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Well, and something Rogan said that was like supposedly days before it happened. I don't know if it was Rumsfeld or whoever, some high ranking guy in the government basically announced that like we lost trillions of dollars. And then like right where like one of the planes hit was like the floor that was like auditing and like looking into the financial, like where is this money gone? What's happening? Just a funny little like Just
I don't like
sprinkle that on there. You're just
you
like,
can't even.
okay.
It's hard to. You can make a lot of different correlations.
Yeah.
Some of these numbers are fun though. Like there's this one. I'm gonna call this number. You know this.
John Cena?
No.
Are you connected wirelessly to that thing? That is so cool.
That is cool.
We could call people. We could make prank calls. What are we doing?
Hi, you have reached the residence of Murray Bauman. Mom, if this is you,
You've heard this
please hang
before.
up and call me between the hours of 5 and 6 p.m.
What's Stranger
as
Things?
previously discussed.
Luke?
Okay?
I haven't seen this.
Remember
season.
this?
If this is
This
Joyce,
message from Stranger Things?
Joyce, thank you for calling. I've been trying to reach you. I haven't.
Oh, it's that like crazy guy who goes to Russia with her.
Probably better if we
Yeah.
speak in person. It's not good or bad, but it's something.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's so funny. Mary Sue rejection hotline. What is this? Have to try it. Oh, it's busy. Mary Sue's busy. Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Crazy,
Welcome to the
dude.
conference call.
Oh, that's not a thing. All right. Well, never mind. Only one of those worked.
Brutal.
Oh, anyway. Did you see that? So here was a thing that I wanted to hit last time, but we didn't have time to. That Tom Hanks deal that we kind of talked about. Remember that?
What about him?
Just talking about like whitewashing history.
Oh, yeah.
So
I will tell you, I read
listen to
a
it.
New York Times piece on a 100-year-old survivor of the Tulsa massacre. And my question was this: what's the Tulsa massacre?
Oh, I did.
You know,
freaking buffering, really? Stand by, folks.
I will tell you, I read
Okay. Here we go.
I will tell you.
every 3 years growing up, 5th grade, 8th grade, what comes after 11th grade, and then I studied in junior college, and I've read it ever since for pleasure. How is it that it wasn't until 2
He's
years
talking about
ago
history.
that
Sorry,
I heard
skipped
about
a part.
the Tulsa massacre? How is that possible? I've heard about Custer's Little Bighorn. I heard about the Alamo. I heard about the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. I heard about all kinds of disasters in which people died. But I had never heard about this thing that happened in 1921, only 3 years before my dad was born. In the same year that Donna Reed was born, we didn't hear about this thing that happened in which essentially one of the most successful black communities in America, Black Wall Street, in which everybody was not only burned out of their homes and their businesses, but then driven out of the city limits by an angry mob of, I'm sorry, white people. How is it that this was not taught to me? Because I tell you, at the age of 10, when I was in 5th grade,
Man, that sucks. Freaking phone.
That's just the one where it's basically just a massacre of all like the black people in Tulsa, right?
No, it was like, well, it was essentially, yes, it was like I think it was, yeah, it was just a huge hate crime. And it was
Purely
never-
like race though,
Yeah.
race related.
Yeah.
It wasn't white. It was white people. Just
for sure. Yeah. Being
Well, when was it? Ian, what was the year?
trying to remember what he said here. Let me connect to the Wi-Fi.
We could probably do a little Googs search.
Probably do a Goog search. Tulsa massacre.
Google.
Michael Bublé.
1921.
Yeah, so 1921.
yeah,
That's
okay.
not that old, or that's not like
I will tell you,
A
So-
2-day long massacre.
yeah, so
me. Because I tell you, at the age of 10, when I was in 5th grade, living in Oakland, California, that would have been a moment of enlightenment for me. That would have told me something very, very different about the city I lived in, not just American history or the city of Tulsa. And it made me mad. It made me mad that somebody had somehow made an editorial process of what was appropriate for us to learn about our own American history. It made me angry that it took until I was I'm 60. I'll be 66 just about 2 weeks after Juneteenth. I'll turn 66, and it took me 64. It took me 54 years in order to find this out. It's not right. It's not right, and it's doing a disservice to all of America. That's what happened Nobody alive today is guilty over of it. Nobody alive today is to blame for it, except perhaps the people who said, let's not talk about that. That's not right. We should be able to talk about all of these aspects. So they will teach us more of the fabulous story of our diverse history and understand where we all come from. I knew more about my Portuguese heritage than I did about being black and living in Tulsa in 1921. That's not right. It's not. It's not what an education should be, and it's not what the grand, I think, lesson of even something as basic as our Pledge of Allegiance should be, when we're going to dare to say the words "with liberty and justice for all." We didn't have a moment. That was not liberty and justice for all, and that's not right. And it made me.
Yeah. So anyway,
That's crazy.
this sounds pretty interesting. I mean, granted, like you have a lot of people, typically conservatives that aren't into the whole critical race theory and whatever. And that it's kind of interesting because you have these organizations that clearly have an agenda, right? There's a lot of people who would say, like, a lot of people who are Marxists just want to destroy everything and start over because everything, that America is based on a history of racism and slavery and, all that, which I get. And it's just like, I get there's resistance to just like basically allowing an agenda, to be taught to the kids. It's basically like, oh, hey, all this is based on, false pretenses. So we should just, and then this is kind of almost like creating this generation of like, oh, we just need to tear it all down. It's just like, so anarchy is definitely not a good thing.
I just think it's hard, like with kids, man. Like it's just like I think they're too young.
No.
When you start teaching them too early about like a lot of sure learn a little about history, but
what was the critical race theory all about though? Was it kids or was it like just middle school, high school when you start learning like history stuff? Because you don't learn history in elementary school.
Yeah, I was about to say you don't learn history then.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think you're too young in middle school to start learning about that stuff.
But
I
it's
think
just
the problem with that is
the issue is like there's no. Once you open the floodgates and it's just like, all right, let's relook at everything that's happened and what we're including in textbooks and what we're teaching kids, because then at that point, it's like, depending on who the person is editing that, it could go the other way where it's just like, oh yeah, it's all bad. Like, you know what I mean?
It's got to be introduced in the correct manner.
Yeah. But knowing that these things happen, I think is pretty important, right? Like the fact that we just don't even know about it, something like that.
For sure.
That's kind of crazy. I mean, they call it whitewash. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of guilt that caused that to be stricken from like the history books, right? So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I just think when kids are young, and we already touched on this, but it's like to try to navigate like the complexities of like the American story over the last 250, 300 plus years, right? Like it's just. There's a lot. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as like some people want to make it out to be. I mean, it's like slavery wasn't like a U.S. thing; it was a people thing, and it's like so you can make the argument that we were too slow to outlaw it. Like I think Western Europe was the first kind of part in the world where they outlawed it first, but a lot of those countries had colonies around the world, like the British. Like so, slavery might have been outlawed in Great Britain, but they had colonies all around the world in India. All kinds of places where there was slavery. So it's like it technically didn't exist there, but their colonies.
Well, compounded with that, it's really tough because basically a lot of the American people, companies, businesses that utilize slaves, they brought them from Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and so then at that point, it just becomes much more charged because then there's a very clear difference, like visual, like you know what I mean, like. Mm-hmm. That's just like it's easy to identify, people who they saw as a lesser, you know what I mean, which just creates this charged thing. And it's just, it's awful. But like you think about like in Egypt, like the slaves that they had, right? The slaves could throw on a guard's uniform and look like one of the guards. I mean, it's just the same, you didn't have that skin color kind of difference, right? It was just slaves were slaves and upper class were upper class. And so that just contributes to the whole thing. Like, right? Like,
yeah. Cause I guess the one thing that does make us a little different and unique is the sense that like most people just enslaved their own people. It was just indentured servitude or
right.
Like it was whether you were born into it, like kind of like you're saying, like even in like Bible times, there's a ton of slavery, but these are all like Middle Eastern type tribes. So it's like they may be technically from different nations, but a lot of them, at least, like when it comes to like genetically, we're pretty similar looking or similar skin tone. So I think there's obviously like the optic. It just looks so bad when it's like
clearly
white, black,
it's
and it's like the opposite ends of the spectrum, and it's like
so it's stupid.
Yeah. But I guess, I mean, I don't know. I think kids when they're young, they just need to learn how to like not look at skin color and learn to just see everyone and treat them the same.
That's
and then as you age,
yeah.
you know, we can add context to like, all right, this is like this happened in the past. That's why it's important. But like kids don't have like the mental, like the critical, like that critical thinking component. Like they just need to have fun and learn to like get along with people.
Well, one of the things that you don't know how to navigate it really, because we've never said anything about, you know, and like granted, like obviously like my son and daughters know that there's a difference between like their skin color and their friends, you know, like because we have a lot of Spanish friends and black friends and, you know, whatever friends, Filipino. So everyone's got kind of a different shade, right? And so they can clearly tell that like, yeah, you have different characteristics than me, but we never relate that to like hate and racism. Or that, you know, like, we don't really talk about that to them.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's going to be good for them to know that, hey, this happened. But then it's like, I think I said this before, but it's just like, yeah, you can't just ignore it, because like there are a lot of people that don't feel equity in that, and they're just like kind of like, okay, well, I'm down and out, and I'm, you know, it's just like, this is a lot of like, I experienced racism all the time, and I feel like, you know, there's people that just ignore it and don't even know what I'm going through. And I get that, like, but it's just like, I just don't know. I don't know what the balance is, you know? Cause you'd love to just be like, hey, let's just not talk about it. But then it's almost like we're ignoring what happened. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, yeah, anyway, again, not a problem that we can solve. Especially with all the white people we have sitting here. Like, I think
tough.
I've done this before, because
like,
I brought stuff up and I'm like, you know what? We're way too white to have this conversation.
I mean, not really. I feel like they want us to have these conversations, right? I mean,
no, I mean, we're bringing awareness for sure. And I agree.
It's better than ignoring.
I agree with Tom Hanks. I mean, there's stuff that like you need to know like what happened, and it needs to be balanced. I mean, you know,
well, part of the trick is like, I mean, for all the great things about America, I mean, it was still like ran by people, and you know, you can go like we did this whole trip in Boston and went on this thing called the Freedom Trail. It was like ended up being like 10 miles, but like you see all these like really ancient, like you see Paul Revere's house. You go to like Bunker Hill where they kind of had. You walked it.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
it's good exercise.
It was a long day,
but it's cool. Like, dude,
and you were freezing your balls off.
I ended up getting that jacket, so halfway freezing my balls.
But no joke, it's this it's a red brick path that literally runs through like probably 5 miles of the city.
Every city needs it.
It's a legit, like just on the sidewalk, there would just be certain sidewalks just have this little, it's like 2 red bricks wide that just run through the middle of the normal concrete.
It's like you don't have to have a GPS or anything.
And you just follow it.
The bricks.
But it takes you to all the different like monuments and parks, and like kind of like the North Chapel, I think, where he like put the lantern in the steeple, and we actually missed his house. But it's like, you know, it's like we had a lot of these founding fathers that you learn about who a lot of them had really strong convictions and were just very like just strong men. I mean, to be able to lead a revolution. But it's like even them, like we see people coming after George Washington, Ben Franklin, because they own slaves. And it's like not to condone it, but it's like when something is so common, and it's like I think 2 things can be true. Like we were created and founded by people who are imperfect, but it also was like probably the coolest experiment to ever happen in terms of a government on the planet. I mean, back then, it was completely unheard of to let the people have power.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard. So it's like you have to kind of eat the fish and spit out the bones is like the analogy or whatever. It's like, and it's not to like just whitewash or to look over it. Like it's like absolutely. Like if you feel convictions about the way certain people were treated, like I would encourage you to like actually be of service to those communities, or like actually like help, do something that helps, not just like, so I think now we just live in this keyboard warrior culture where it's just like, you don't actually want to do anything to help these groups of people. You just want to yell about it.
Yeah,
It's like how much of your time have you actually committed to serving in these communities and helping? It's like we just create this thing where it's just like, let's just get a louder bullhorn. Let's just yell about it. And it's like, I feel like that's kind of the political culture of America now. It's like basically we just yell at each other from our sides, and then it's like we wait to get the power back because every so often it just pendulums back and forth because people tend to like it's always common that, isn't it like a statistic that like the sitting president always like gets murdered in like that, like the midterms, like there's almost always a correction to the other side in like midterms. And it's just, I don't know, the way people are. Certain people aren't
no
happy
president
about it.
has ever performed the way they said they were, which is why that happens.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They can't
Which you
keep
can't
every promise.
Yeah, which isn't possible just because of the structure that's in place. I mean, some probably don't even know that it's that difficult when it gets in there to like do what you're going to do.
Right.
At this point, it's really just a machine moving in a direction that really can't be stopped.
Right.
No matter who's in office.
Well, that's the dangerous thing is like who's actually in charge of stuff, because it feels like it's like I don't think the president's really in charge of much. I mean, he can obviously do a lot with executive orders, but there's got to be like your BlackRocks, these big financial institutions that are just
you've seen
running
movies.
everything.
Yeah, pretty much whatever's in those movies is probably accurate.
Yeah, we're bringing them down.
Yeah,
it's Spectre or whatever their name is, the James Bond.
Yeah, right. And then next week we have a pod like, we haven't seen Justin for a week. We're not sure where he's at.
They got him. But another interesting thing too, I'd be interested to see. I don't even know how you figure this out though, but of like the American population, how many people here percentage wise are like descendants or were here like either like pre-Civil War versus like how many people migrated here post-Civil War, like after 1870. Like how much of the American population was even like, how many of their ancestors were even around before the Civil War or during or before the Civil War?
I don't know.
Because it's hard because we get into these conversations of like, okay, so we can all agree that this group is oppressed. So it's like, okay, so the real problem is like, what are we going to do about it? Like, are we reparations? Are we just going to feel bad? Like, I don't know. At some point, I feel like we just like to like yell about the argument because it gives us like this political wedge. Because it's like if we actually fixed it, we wouldn't be able to like put it on the other people and say it's like their fault, kind of a thing. Like we love to play this gotcha type stuff.
We should be blaming the Spanish and the British. The Spanish discovered the country, and then the British. Let's just blame them.
Yeah, let's just send an invoice.
How far back can we go?
Europe.
Then they'll blame someone
for the reparations.
We'll just keep blaming people.
But yeah, I think. And then, if Jesus was walking the earth today, like, what would he say about it? Like, his whole message was, like, turn the other cheek.
Love God, love others. That's all he's going to say.
And it's,
it's
hard because
it comes down to it.
It's the unforgiveness thing. It's the bitterness thing, right? It's like you have every right to hold on to this, but it is poison to you.
Yeah.
So it's not, it doesn't serve you, but.
Yeah.
You can have
and that's why, forgiveness is never, I don't think ever represented as an easy thing. It's not easy because you have to basically live with a feeling that someone else got away with something, which is never a good feeling.
Well, a lot of times you just have to forgive people that don't even ever make an apology. That's probably the hard part. Because even if an apology is sincere or not, there's probably a lot of people who just feel like I never even got an apology. But it's like at the same time, like honestly, that bitterness, it really doesn't. Would the apology, like, would it really matter? Like someone who's really holding on to that, like, would an apology really make a difference?
Well, a lot of people who, like a lot of people that feel like they get back at somebody at the end don't feel any better anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's like, really, where's the path go?
That's why I think it's just a lot of that stuff is like, you got to go on your own spiritual journey and you got to become aware of like, all the things that you're holding, all the weights that you're carrying, and like what's serving you and what's not. And I think, I don't know, people like to hold on to that, the trauma and the bitterness, because it just gives them an excuse to not be okay. And they can point at something.
Well, some people make it their identity.
Yeah. Well, and that's so back to children. I think that's what can be dangerous is like now we have people that are a little more on the like activist side like raising kids, and it's just like I'm sure like kids probably just grow up hearing all kinds of stuff around the house, and so you're just like, dude, why are you even like talking about like politics and political? Like I saw this clip of like Will Smith's son. You ever seen that clip of Jaden where he's like talking? We could, I'm sure we could pull it up. It went like kind of viral. But he's like a kid, and he's basically just like, oh, I've always grown up around people older than me, and like I can't stand being around people my age, because he's just like, oh, it's just so boring. And he's like, can we just talk about like the geopolitical landscape of the world? And I'm like, dog, you're a kid. You didn't get to be a kid. Like, why are you thinking about those things?
Well, clearly his parents are very political.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the circles he grew up in. It's like, dude, you're not supposed to raise little activists. Like, just let kids have fun. Let them find their way.
I mean, they just never had a chance to develop either certain things. I mean, they just skip. Yeah, that's crazy. Another topic that actually also has to do with school, kind of. There was just something posted on something that was just talking about a dress code. Like, there was a thing that went out at some private, I think it was a Christian school. It was like boys aren't allowed wearing any gendered clothing of like the opposite sex, or like, okay, boys or girls. They weren't allowed wearing like opposite sex clothes.
Like boys can't wear pink type stuff? There's like in that direction?
Type of stuff, yeah.
What you're talking about when you're... What?
No, I'm talking about, this was just, on one of the forums, it was just
like a private school?
Yeah, someone was just saying like, someone was annoyed because they just like sent out like kind of a notice. It was just like, yeah, girls, boys can't wear this. Girls can't wear this.
It's a private school. I mean,
they can do whatever they want.
Take your kid out of that school.
Don't they usually have why not just have uniforms then?
Well, that's a thing too that kind of solves a lot of things. As much as I would have hated uniforms in school, it's like I kind of wish like my kids went to a school with uniforms.
I mean, most jobs that you have, there's a dress code or a uniform you wear.
What's ours?
Huh?
We're the lucky ones. We're the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, well...
But I'm wearing Crocs right now.
Yeah, we're lucky. But like, yeah, think about how much that would just remove like a lot of just insecurities and stuff like that. Like if everyone just has to wear the same stuff, it's just like you're not going to be constantly comparing yourself to like. And if it's not like, I would assume they're probably not very revealing.
Mm-hmm.
So
what if you're a boy and you want to wear a skirt?
Bro, they do that in Scotland.
It's true.
Scotland.
Get you a kilt, bruh.
Bruh.
Nice.
I think at the end of the day, I think kids.
What are you dressing
kids
up
need the
for?
freedom
Are
to
you doing
express
Halloween
themselves.
This year? You ever dressed up
somehow.
for Halloween?
Bro,
No.
I haven't dressed up since I did Frozen.
I dressed up.
I haven't dressed up since we took Nate's kids and they were like all the Incredibles. So I found like a Frozone costume to go with them.
That's hilarious,
bro. And the only one I could find was like a double XL. So it was
hilarious.
But the funny thing was, it's like, you know how like long and slender Frozone is in the movies. Like it was still like too tight. And I'm just like, I'm a little chunky. Like I get it. Like I'm a stocky boy. But like, dude, it was just too tight to be walking around with kids.
So
you're
it's
definitely
like
not chunky. That's not
It
the
was
word I
like,
would use.
I'm not.
You're built.
Yeah,
I'm not like
It
Frozone
pisses me
skinny.
off,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah, you're not chunky whatsoever.
Just wanna
Yeah.
slap
Oh,
'em.
thick boy.
You're stout.
All right, I'll take stout.
Yeah.
But either way, it was like it was way
Frozone
too
was like
long.
a real tall, skinny dude.
You would
Yeah.
destroy
You-
Frozone.
But it was awkward.
in a
Yeah.
wrestling match.
I was just.
Yeah,
I should have just
true.
found some white shorts, short white shorts to wear over it because I just felt so uncomfortable.
Do we have
walking
any
around
pictures of that?
around a bunch of kids?
I'd like to see. Go ahead
Sure
and
there
scroll.
is.
I'm sure you could probably find them on one of. Lindsay probably posted something about it.
Yeah,
at
I'm
some
gonna
point in
need some
time.
of
We'll
that.
have to look and
Probably
see.
dive into the old Facebook.
We should do a
video.
Halloween
the old
office
Facebook.
office party.
Yeah, I already have a costume I'm going to reuse for whatever we're doing this
Special
year.
witches brew.
Doing a Michael Jackson.
You're going to be
We're-
Michael Jackson?
We're going to a Michael Jackson party,
Oh, that's
and it was
fun.
like everyone dresses up as their own Michael. So whatever Michael you want to dress up as, I'm doing Beat It. So I got like the red leather jacket.
Any
the t-shirt
Michael
underneath.
ever or
See, that's
just
a-
Michael Jackson?
Huh?
Any Michael ever or just Michael Jackson? Any version of Michael Jackson?
Any version of Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had a good
You
idea.
can do Thriller, Beat It, like just
Right,
all
right,
the whatever song. Because he had like crazy outfits,
Right.
That's what America needs more of.
Michael
It's like
Jackson.
Michael Jackson, clearly a very flawed individual, but we gonna party.
I mean,
Michael
because-
Jackson party.
You're celebrating like
Did you ever watch that documentary?
that person. You're not like
I know. That's why I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
funny
kinda-
that we do this whole thing of like,
Sure.
we're teaching the kids America's racist,
Yeah,
But we're like,
well,
we go to the Michael Jackson parties. We're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, he wasn't perfect. He like doing stuff with kids.
yeah.
But he was a good, performer.
Justin, whatever you do, don't you dare expect consistency. Don't do that.
America's not very consistent.
Well, human nature is like hypocrisy.
Never will be.
It's true.
Say as I say, or do as I say.
But
not as I
anyway,
do,
you know
type of
how
thing.
like, well, the way I am, like if I do a costume for some party, that's the one I use the rest of the year. Like for Halloween, for whatever. So I'm just gonna
Your
do
birthday.
that. My birthday costume, yeah, for sure. I definitely dress up for my birthday.
Your birthday soon.
To sit down and play video games all day by myself.
You know, it'd be
To
funny.
not be bothered. Yes.
There should be a party of like dress up as any Michael. Period.
Michael Scott,
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan,
Michael Jackson.
yeah.
Who else? I mean, I feel like there's a lot of Michaels.
for all the good Christian boys out there, you do Michael Tate.
Michael B. Jordan.
Oh boy, yeah.
Michael Scott.
I said Michael Scott.
It was
Wow.
worth saying twice for sure.
I
Oh,
know.
you weren't
I-
paying
I
attention
halfway pay
to
attention.
me. Oh, that's great. Thanks.
For some reason, I only hear the interesting stuff.
Okay. Well, clearly you thought Michael Scott was interesting, and I'd said it.
Yeah, you're right. You got me.
Got you.
Got
I got him.
I looked up famous Michaels, and there are a lot of them, but none that we've ever heard of from like the early 1900s.
Michael C. Hall. He's Dexter.
Michael DiMaggio.
Yeah, Mike.
He's on the list.
It's that's stupid.
Oh.
We also were aboard the USS Constitution.
That was pretty
That was
sick.
crazy.
It's huge.
A real like warship from like,
So many levels.
bro, these cannons.
I remember seeing the USS North Carolina. I mean, it's no joke.
What'd they say?
It's
Each
like-
cannon weighed like 5 tons.
Isn't it insane how
Wow.
something like with that much metal can float?
Yeah.
You're just like, how?
Well, because this was like, so
That
this must
messes
have
with me
been.
all the time. I'm like, what?
Or
What?
like how planes can fly, like
Yeah,
the massive planes, and they're just moving so slowly. You're just like, what is happening? Yeah. What are you looking up?
So I'm trying to see when this thing was actually on the water. Holy balls. 1797.
What?
Yeah, construction began in 1794.
Oh, it was a wooden ship.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
This thing was crazy.
wow.
Like
Oh, it
old
was
school
wild,
wooden
yeah.
ship, bro.
I've never seen anything like that.
Bananas.
I've seen, because I thought you were talking about like a metal battleship. Like a,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, this thing was wild.
wow.
It was really cool.
I would love that. Was it
know.
as big in
thought
person
about
as
you
you
plenty
think
of
it would
times.
be? Like a ship
Oh,
like
yeah.
that?
Well, there were so
I
many
mean,
levels. Like we would
huge.
go to another level down. We're just like, no.
And
just
yeah,
keep
we
going
get to
down
that
another
level. They'd
level.
be like, wait,
Was it
there's
like as
another
big
level?
of a ship as like on Pirates of the Caribbean or something like that? Like where it's like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
that's sick.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, obviously, they make it look super like spacious and like
It
dope.
said they needed
It's
like how many people to run it?
Well, yeah. So if they wanted to sail it now, I think they said they last sailed it in like 2019. They used to do it for like just for shits and giggles and then like shoot off guns. How American. Let's take
Yeah.
this old ship out for no good reason and
That'd be
fire a bunch
so
of guns
sick.
off of
Can
it.
you imagine being
It only
one of
cost
those
us like
people?
$500,000.
One of
That'd be
those
so
people.
cool.
It would be so neat to be one of those people. Just helping with that.
Mhm.
You just put yourself in.
Yeah, he said it takes about 300 sailors to do it now. And when it was actually sailing, it had a crew of about 500.
What? 100?
500. Yeah, that's the crew.
That's how many it took? You could fit that many people on board?
Oh, yeah.
And then
Oh yeah.
Well, because that's what I'm saying. Each level,
There was,
like
like,
once
what,
you started
4
going down, the
levels?
levels were only like 5 feet tall. Like you had to duck under everything.
Yeah. Like
Once you get down into like kind of the living quarters and stuff, because you have obviously the top floor, and then the next level is the next tallest, but that's just housing all the cannons.
hmm Well, there was cannons on 2 levels, right? Like,
Mhm.
the first one we went down.
300 people just to run the ship?
Just to sail.
It was
That's
crazy.
unreal.
It was crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
It was
It was so
free, too.
sophisticated,
It was
too.
along the trail. It was along the
Mhm.
little brick trail. Just
I
stop
feel like
by,
I feel like
walk on the ship.
Boston's unique in that regard, where it's, you talked about having that road everywhere. It's
so
like
much history.
you couldn't really do that in Orlando. Things are pretty far apart.
Well, not only that, but there's
Yeah,
not
long
enough
ass
shit to
road.
look at in
Well, and
Orlando.
even
Well,
like,
no, it'd be more spread out. So it'd be like St. Augustine is like
yeah.
Yeah,
a
Boston's
really
very
historical
walkable. Yeah.
city. You know, it's just like, and there's other parts of Florida that are interesting.
I feel like there are other cities that should do that, like Savannah.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
for
They
sure.
should have that.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's
It was
a bunch
just
of other ones,
so
but
much
yeah.
history. I mean, so much went through Boston.
cool.
So it was like,
It was just easy to continue. We would turn somewhere, check something out, and be like, all right, where's the bricks? We got to get back on the trail.
Where's the bricks?
all that.
They don't have a great
It's
airport.
like Wizard of Oz.
It really sucks, actually.
It wasn't bad. What's wrong with it?
Mm.
What do you not like? Well, I guess
Sorry,
we
I'm
did
comparing it to like good airports.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only problem we had
we
was
didn't
they
hit the
changed
Centurion Lounge. It
they
wasn't
changed the area
like
where
that.
the Ubers pick you up, I guess, recently. So we had a little hard time.
That's
we
hilarious. Did I send you that video?
Bro, every Uber driver was like,
We had to go fucking
not
find them.
English for the first language. Dude, we couldn't understand each other. And like, they're trying to give us directions on like where to go. This happened like at the airport and then after the concert because they had a bunch of the roads like closed down. So I'm just like, you have my location, bro. Like, what? Just come to me. Like, what? You have the car. And then I don't even know. We got really lucky with the airport one because it was like
He waited for us, yeah.
yeah, he waited, but like we had no idea because we just followed all the signs, and then it turns out like they had a whole separate area just for like the Uber and Lyfts, and
Yeah.
it's
So
like, this could be a lot more organized.
yeah, that it's because I sent you that John Chris video, right? It was just like it's just going through trying to find the Uber pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've been there so
What's
many
cool
times.
though now is you get the. Oh, I also didn't know this. Supposedly, once they're there, if they wait more than 2 minutes, they can start charging you,
Right.
which is
Yeah, I knew that. You got to find them quick.
Yeah. So we had all our guys were pretty chill when we had
Yeah.
and then a little extra time, but they also then I didn't know they'd send you the text now always that has the license plate that you can confirm every time you order an Uber.
Well, every time you get an Uber, it automatically just has the car and license plate there on the app.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They tell you like the make and model. I'm sure. Yeah. I just never noticed. It was nice to like.
Oh,
They send a text also just
Sure.
with the license
okay.
plate,
I mean,
so you
that's
can.
helpful.
Ooh, in the last day, dude, one of the best subs I've ever eaten in my life. We went to
Oh,
this
it's like this small little place in
hole
Chelsea.
in the wall, little sandwich shop, bro.
Love
Nice.
a hole in the wall.
We got it was like a deal with like half a sub, like chips and a drink. The like I only ate half of the half. Like,
Bro, I'm talking this big.
they stuffed that thing.
The amount of steak we just got, like the steak they call it like the steak bomb,
they
which is
were so
basically like
nice.
the Philly cheese with like peppers and onions and mushrooms.
The family vibe. Shout out SNL Subs, Chelsea,
Yeah,
Massachusetts.
y'all got to hit that horde.
Gotta hit it.
She sounds like she smoked a lot of cigarettes in her
Oh,
life,
yeah.
but she's the nicest lady I've met.
She can make
Throwing a lot of
sandwich.
F-bombs, real like raspy voiced old Italian lady.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's
And,
how you know it's good.
Dude, there had to have been a pound of meat in half of the sub.
They were so
I love
nice,
that.
though.
This
Yeah,
thing
all
was
of them.
huge.
I need to leave them a Yelp
Dude,
review.
When I went to
do.
Full Sail, there was they had like student discounts and stuff and all that, and it was like there was this sub place that was near the school that did like if you show your ID, it was $1 for a 6-inch sub. It was just ham and cheese, but they gave you so much freaking ham. It was like, how are they making money on? I was just like,
this
think-
cannot be.
I was just like, how is this possible?
That's crazy.
Yeah, literally, because I mean, you're in college, you do all the hacks, so you can.
Bro, at Ohio
Yeah.
State, there was this. What was that called? Remember Gumby's Pizza? Did you ever have that?
Yeah.
On campus,
Yeah,
bro. You could get like a large. If you were a student, you get a large for like $4.99.
yeah. No, it's crazy how cheap
Place
things
was
used to
just
be.
packed after like midnight. Just drunk people lined up.
Ain't
trying to
$4.99
get
no
their
more.
$4.99 large. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. to Know what that is now?
You guys hear about all the Adam Levine stuff? We
What?
didn't talk about that yet.
No, we haven't talked about it. Go ahead.
I mean,
Drama.
I don't know what else to say about it, but did you guys hear about it? Was
I haven't heard
like,
anything. I don't even know.
Oh, really?
No.
Do you
So
know
this-
anything?
He had an affair or something.
Well, this model named Sumner, she came out. She like did this TikTok video, a bunch of
She
screenshots.
boom roasted him on TikTok.
Basically, yeah, just like, or they've been talking on Instagram for a while. It looked like, but he like sent her this message. It was like, "I'm having another baby, and if it's a boy, I want to name it Sumner. Is that okay with you?" Like basically, like you want to name your kid after your mistress.
Okay, I already have a couple.
And
questions.
he's saying he like obviously
And it's a
it, like
girl, and he wants to name
She
his
is
boy
smoking
that.
hot, yes.
yeah.
she
that's
just
weird.
came out randomly with these pictures. Like
Yeah.
what provoked her to do it? She just had enough of doing it. She's like,
Yeah, or
I'm
she
gonna-
was just like,
She's trying to get that 15 minutes, bro.
yeah, exactly, probably.
yeah, okay.
Probably a little bit of that. But after she came out with it, there's like a handful of other girls that have came out with some screenshots showing that.
So are they
you were
alleging-
messaging them too? But
Are they,
they aren't alleging that like they actually like did anything
or
physical.
even met?
Or
Did they even meet?
I
Is
don't-
this just like a?
You can't really tell from the messages that I saw, at least the screenshots, but he eventually, like, obviously it blew up on the internet and everyone's talking about it. So he eventually posted on his story that he was just like, you know, I made some bad decisions in this time of my life, and I never had an affair with any woman or cheated. Like he like obviously admitted to sending messages, but he said that like he never actually had an
Wait,
affair.
so him and Sumner never did the nasty?
I don't think so.
Oh, come on!
That upsets you.
Wow.
Justin's pissed.
No, I totally get it. I mean, end of the
Justin's
day,
like, you gotta do it. You gotta do it right.
End of the day, emotional cheating is still cheating. I
For
agree
sure,
with that.
for sure.
Right. The tricky part for me is like in that world,
He's
you're
gonna
just
try
like
and figure it
the
out
worst
with
thing
life,
he did
though.
was just DM a couple girls. Just like
That's
I'd
the,
probably
that's the only thing
I would
that
probably
they have
look past
proof
it.
of. Like we all know.
You don't love it, but like in that
No,
world
for
where
that
it's
kind
like
of stuff, man, you gotta.
Why does
infidelity
he
is
get
so
a-
common.
Why does he get a pass though?
I don't think he necessarily
He's
gets a
not.
pass.
Gonna, he's not
He's
gonna
getting
get a
smoked.
pass. He's
That's
gonna get
something
roasted.
that they're gonna have to
Straight
figure
white
out.
male cheating.
But that's the-
cheating.
He's
Straight
definitely not
white
getting
male.
a pass from the people.
I wonder if he'll
But
be
that's the
removed
thing.
from
It's like I wouldn't. I mean,
The Voice or
I
something.
don't know what it means to give someone a pass, but like, I'm not gonna sit there and judge the guy because if there's a time in my life where I fall prey to temptation and whatever, I'd want to be
Right,
looked at
of
with the same
course.
grace that I give someone else. But
For sure.
Well, and this on
Yeah, you
top of
gotta
that,
get
this
that
is a
fire
guy
up on
that
the ass,
like
though.
no one is off limits.
Right.
Like he literally is like,
but
Yeah, it's
I mean, that's not new to him.
well, right. But I think that's one thing where I feel like a lot of people will like look and judge, and you're just like,
Right.
that's the whole adage, like walk a mile in
Exactly.
his shoes before you go to judge, because it's like, dude, you can judge and say I've never
Right.
DM'd another girl, but it's like, yeah, if you had Victoria's Secret models lining up to try to talk to you,
Sure. Yeah.
you're telling me like you'd be strong. You're just, I love my wife. I know she's a perfect 10, but I love my wife. You're just like, dog. Sometimes the amount of
it's a
options.
freaking married nerd that plays video games in his basement. He's like
It's tough.
a fatty.
Well, and just
no girls talk to him. He's the one who judges and just makes the noise.
yeah,
You know,
and it's
like-
not to excuse it, but there's also like thousands of years of evolution with our species where, like we talked about this before, like the men of influence commonly would have multiple wives or women throughout history.
Well, my
It's
first
very
when
uncommon for women.
when you guys started telling the story, my first question was like, does she care?
I'm sure
Like,
she
she hasn't
is
does.
she in on it? Like, but I mean, since he
I wouldn't want to speak on it anyways. That's
Well, since
something
he-
I'm just going to talk
since
to my
he-
husband about.
since he apologized, it's like clear that his wife wasn't in on it. But it's just like there are people now with crazy relationship
I mean,
arrangements.
they've got what their third kid on the way, or I think it's third
Yeah.
kid on the way.
Yeah.
Right? So I
That's
mean,
tough.
I'm sure she's just like, I'm not going to deal with the public. I'm going to deal with his ass at home.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would be that would be worse on her than it is him.
I would hate my relationship to be in the public eye.
100%. Well, because now it's like moving forward, you're like, okay, so it's going to be hard to rebuild that trust, but also like I would never want to be someone that like is like I would never want to be like, I need access to your Instagram now, so I know you're not DMing. Like I wouldn't want to be that way either. Like for me personally, it's almost like you gotta like I had a couple that I went to. I don't know if I've told this story before, but a couple that I went to Jesus school with.
Can't wait.
And two of the most incredible people I've ever met, like literally just some of the most loving, selfless people. And they were married and they had a child, but like their backstory was basically he was unfaithful like many times throughout their like dating life.
Gomer.
And he had a rough upbringing with a lot of like his own stuff, and he didn't grow up in church, so he was kind of like new to that world. She was a little bit more like in church, and so she was kind of his portal into that world. But basically, they right before they decided they were going to get engaged or move forward with it, because I think he wanted to make that step. I remember his wife had to sit down with some of her mentors, and I mean, not to say that this is the right approach, but like I've never heard a better one. They basically were just like, if you're going to move forward with like this engagement, like you have to literally like treat him and act as if none of those things ever happened. Like if you're going to forgive him, it's like the whole Bible thing as far as the East is from the West. Like it's not even like there's a little resentment. It's literally like you have to literally move forward as if it never happened. And
Yeah,
the trust needs to be that.
Right.
which is impossible. And she had every right to just be like, I don't think I can rebuild that. I don't think I can get there again, which is
Yeah.
totally fine.
Right.
But like to see them with such a like an incredible marriage now, where it's like
right.
a lot of people just like always like the human nature. We hold on to those bullets because it's like once we're under fire, we're just like, oh yeah, you did this, and we like bring out like we put our hand down of like all the things the way that they wronged us, instead of just really like. That's why I think even with all the race stuff, it's like it's not fair, but to move forward in like an actual like covenant or union, like you have to put down all the swords. It's just, and it's not fair because certain people were wronged. And certain people probably aren't going to like pay for what they did the way you think they should, but to really move forward in like a heaven type covenant.
And that's
thing.
why we've not come to any agreed upon solution. Is because of that. This is, we just don't. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, because we're all sitting here too. It's just like, well, what the hell did we do, right? Like, as white people, and I mean, I'm like, and I bring this stuff, like I'm very like, because back in my hometown in Ohio, people are very prejudiced, right? Just because of just like their upbringing, their experiences, what they were taught. And so I am very much like, I feel like I'm doing my part when I talk to my family and stuff about like, hey, you can't say that, you can't think that way, like have you thought about this, like how do you think that makes someone feel, like if you were, what I mean? So I'm very much like always trying to bring awareness to that, and I feel like I'm doing my part in that regard. But I don't know what else am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
I think
because there's some people it's just like whatever you do is not enough. It won't be.
Yeah, I think the only thing for me, it's like I feel like is our responsibility. It's and some of that, like you've got like people from your childhood or whether it's family or friends or people you grew up with that are like, for me, I don't feel the responsibility or need to change how they feel about it. Like if it comes up, I'll just give my honest kind of opinion on it. But I think that's part of why it's important as you grow up to like surround yourself with people who really see the world the same way. Not in the sense of like the echo chamber where you like can't hear other opinions and you become prejudiced yourself.
That's an issue. Like I feel like I almost, when you started saying that, I was thinking the opposite. I was just like, for the sake of getting out of your own head, you need to grow up maybe with people that whatever. But when you're kind of got your foundation of like yourself, like, and you become an adult,
right?
I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are different than you, who have different opinions. Like, it's just because if everyone agrees on everything, there's no progress there. Like rarely is there enlightenment. You start, watching the same reruns. You don't get to experience other people, like their cultures.
Right.
They're like, because culturally, there's a lot of times like you'll talk to people from, I don't know, Europe or something, right? Like, and they talk and then you're just like, wow, it's not really the way Americans view things. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think to me, everything gets solved with just truly like pursuing an open-minded life where it's like, okay, this is life as I understand it, but that doesn't mean it can't change if I learn more down the road. And then like, because I guess I'm thinking about it more in a sense of like goal-oriented, like you're going to accomplish more in life if you're around people like moving in the same direction and then on top of that at a similar pace. So, and I'm not saying just like don't be around people with different skin color. It's like, to me, it's more of like the Martin Luther King thing, like your values, what's important to you, responsibility, things like that shouldn't be defined ever by like a skin color. Yeah. But I think, sure, in relationships and emotions, it's good to have diversity. And I mean, you need empathy to understand, where other people are at and where they're going and where they're coming from.
Crazy. Yeah. Like one of the things, what you said is really important, just to have an open mind. Like, just understand that, like, literally, there's really few things in my life that I couldn't be convinced another thing about if you brought the right argument and you could prove it, right?
And you can trust, like, the evidence
sure.
source.
Yeah. So it's like, but I hold a lot of these, like, I call them peripheral viewpoints, right? Things that I just don't see as, like, super important. It's just what I happen to believe about a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so maybe some of those things are just, like, fluid, right? Which is fine. I think that's good. I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
Like Lincoln, the problem is like the way that the education system is right now, it doesn't allow you freedom to kind of come up with your own theories on stuff. It's just like it's a very much the same way.
It's more indoctrination and
Yeah,
less.
it's just like, hey, this is
Yeah.
what it is, and and then they come home saying stuff. And the problem is too, the teachers have a limited understanding,
Mm-hmm.
of what it is they're teaching too.
Well, and even their role.
Well, I mean, Lincoln came in. Lincoln was in the car, or we were just talking to Christina or something, and he was just like, "Well, yeah, well, we evolved from monkeys," and I'm just like, "Well, I believe in evolution, but that's not how evolution works. So your teacher's wrong, and they're not teaching it right
yeah.
because we didn't evolve from monkeys. Like the monkeys, like that's the end of their evolutionary chain. Like that's where they ended up. We branched off earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like because like a tree, that's like." So it's like we all started in the same place, but like some of us ended up in different places. And it's not necessarily like it doesn't mean that monkeys are supposed to turn like that's not how that works, but that's a lot of people's like very like kindergarten understanding of evolution.
Yeah.
And so like these people aren't even teaching it correctly. And now Lincoln's just like, that's the way it is. And if he had never had someone challenge it, that's just what he would grow up believing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what a lot of people in church think that evolution is. Like we came from monkeys. You know what I mean? That kind of belief. So it's like I don't even, you need to just have an open mind about stuff. I mean, just like at least because if you're just so closed off and you just think that everything is the way that you learned it your first 18 years of life, then at that point you're just like going to be one of those hard-headed people that we're trying to like, get away from.
And I know like just for me, that's kind of been kind of the foundation of where I'm at is, as I've said it before, but it's that quote where it's like we challenge all of our beliefs except for the ones that really matter and stuff like that. And it's basically just saying like we have belief systems that are very convenient and in the sense of like, okay, like let's just look at any religion. It's just how they explained where we came from, right?
Yeah.
Who is God and what's our relationship to him? Kind of. And it's like end of the day, those are things that like we hopefully, maybe, that's why there's so many of them. It's like if it was a consensus that it was like clearly this one. So that's why I think it's like rough because, you grow up in a typical Christian home and it's like, it's not really encouraged to like ask questions about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I always heard it's like, well, certain beliefs you like hold with a closed fist and certain ones you hold with an open fist. Basically like, we don't compromise on these, but like these ones, we don't know. And it's like, well, in my opinion, everything should be held with a semi loose fist in the sense of like it's clear that like you should be of service to other people and put others before yourself. Like that's just always good. Like it's never okay to be like, it's never better to be selfish or rarely.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like other things about like where it's just like now you're just like, well, I don't know for sure. And it's
we've all talked about, or we've talked about before, this idea of, a faith that you find on your own is much stronger than a faith you're told, to believe in or, told to have. So,
well, because there's so many stories of people that started out as like atheists trying to disprove,
right,
and then they landed, believing in God.
Right.
So,
and those people will now believe in God the rest of their life, typically.
And that's because the open-mindedness, like with anything, like even if you're trying to prove God, if you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, not saying that you would leave that camp, but like for me, it's just like, I don't know these things to be true. I hope these things to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like, at least for me, there's just a distinction where it's like, so if I'm just hoping these are true versus knowing these are true, like how much of my life should I spend in that gap of like, I don't know. Like I know that I'm here and it's like, I've said it a million times, but
do you know that you're here?
I actually don't. As far as my five senses tell me, I'm breathing oxygen in this room right now. Maybe it's all a simulation. Who knows?
The Matrix just wants you to think you only have five senses.
Yeah, right. But even, I don't know, all that stuff. As I'm just like, to just discount anything at face value just because it doesn't kind of pass through your lens of the way you believe the earth works or how we ended up here.
Yeah,
It's
people
like-
should be willing to at least have those conversations.
And I don't think I guess that's my whole point. Like
Yeah.
like it shouldn't. I mean, maybe it should be. I don't know. It's just when it's frowned upon to really think outside of the box.
Yeah.
It's just tough because it brings a lot of fear into the
Mhm.
to the thought process.
Yeah, it does.
But
Yeah, it does. But I think we got to end it. Getting a little
Chipotle
later.
coming.
Oh,
Did you guys
that's
put in your
right.
orders?
No, dude, I've been on here the whole time. I've been active listening and engaging in
Dude,
conversation with
You're
you folks.
slacking. Now the rest of us are gonna have late lunch.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
You didn't.
All right, guys, we got to end it. Subscribe and like. See ya. Bye.
Man.